I have a loyalty to the army where I served for 5 years, but I have a loyalty to this country.
Yes,
I'm not in politics.
First.
Well, Maroof Raza, let's take up on that point that Mr. Parthasarthy was talking about. He said categorically that the buck stopped with the Prime Minister. And that's what this discussion is about today, is it not? Is that the reason? Because the buck stopped with the Prime Minister, is that the reason this report has been classified for more than 50 years?
Well, that is the assumption that has been there doing the rounds for decades now, because even the report and Maxwell post the report was on record to say, and even Mr. Chavan's statement in Parliament completely did away with any reference to the political leadership, therefore trying to put the blame entirely to the armed forces. And the armed forces, as I said, in war operate under larger political direction. If that direction has to come from the Prime Minister's office, if the Prime Minister cannot lead the country in the event of a national crisis, when is he going to lead the country? I'm not just saying about 62, but I'm saying generally. So this is the assumption that we would all logically work towards. Now, in the case of Pandit Nehru, there are 3 or 4 issues, and I'm not saying, and I repeat this again and again, that I'm not putting all the blame on Panditji's feet, but I'm saying there are 3 or 4 instances that need clarification, and by obfuscating the report or by putting it in the vault, you are trying to avoid answering those questions. The first is, who authorized the forward policy? Even though the forward policy was not clearly an act of aggression, these in military terms could be referred to as probing action or just movement of troops to the furthermost area that you envisage your borders to be. Who authorized the defense minister to get so heavily involved in giving statements, taking command of the Ministry of Defense and breaking the chain of command? Could he not have at some stage put the brakes on Krishna Menon, who historians cite as possibly one of Nehru's intellectual peers? So therefore there was that relationship, and we cannot deny that. And Nehruji apparently was on record to say, when they were baying for Krishna Menon's blood after the 62 war, that I'm protecting him because if they get him, they'll get me next. Now, this is on record. Even Panditji, though he is said to have said Hindi Chini bye-bye, on another occasion, Maxwell in his interview to Outlook magazine 2 years ago on the 50th anniversary of this conflict, has said that Panditji apparently told him that India has 2 enemies, Pakistan and China. Correct. Now, that's what Maxwell is saying, but there are other inferences towards that. So, therefore, there is a certain degree of serious blame that falls on the Prime Minister's office, more so, as I repeat again and again, on several other guilty men on which Krishna Menon is on the forefront of it. I want to bring out another sort of anecdotal point. It's an irony that the man who was responsible for the defeat of 62, his statue stands in front of Sena Bhavan and no military commander has objected to him being there. Is it to remind us that we will not do that again?
There are many, out of the many points that Mr. Parthasarthy and you have raised, there are other questions, but General Malik has been wanting to make a point for some time. Yes, General Malik.
Yeah, you know, look, when we are talking about politicians, let me say that categorically that Pandit Nehru misread the situation when the Chinese walked with their military boats into Tibet. They captured Tibet militarily in October 1950. And in November, his Home Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, on 7th of November wrote a letter cautioning him and the cabinet that, look, with these expansionist design of China, we ought to be careful. Unfortunately, that letter from Sardar Patel to Pandit Nehru was not made public for 18 years after that. So there are people who have misread the situation.
General Malik, to you, Mr. Parthasarthy and also Maroof Raza, the questions that I want to ask, when we are putting the why this report has been classified, we are trying to get to the source of it all. General Malik, you say, no, Mr. Parthasarthy there said that what is wrong in stationing troops at on your side of the border? Who decided that border? Was it mutually decided between India and China? That's something that Neville Maxwell has asked and many other historians have asked. Who decided the perception of India's border lines? Who decided that Aksai Chin was a point?
Yes, that's a very...
Who decided? And
very
from 58 onwards, why is Mao Zedong quoted? And it's in quotes, asking, why are the Indians playing aggressor? Why are they trying to pinprick us? And why are they itching for war against us, knowing fully well that we are militarily far more competent? Why are they positioning, lackluster and weak troops at the Thagla bridge? Let's go and attack them and finish it off altogether. If war is what they want, let's give it to them. All this has been said by Mao Zedong. So the idea, what I'm trying to ask you is, was it driven by one particular person, this entire debacle and this entire 1962 ghost, which continues to haunt us till date, 52 years down the line? That's the question I'm trying to ask, and that's the answers perhaps this, the declassification of this report can give. Isn't it, General Malik?
Yeah, that is true. But, as far as the border is concerned, there was ambiguity because the border was not delineated on the maps and it was just left. That area cannot be surveyed, and therefore both China and India were claiming certain parts of this whole border. But one day, I think it was sometimes in 64 or 63 or 64, a little earlier maybe, the Ministry of External Affairs drew a line on the map, which was approved by the Prime Minister, and this is recorded in our records, in our military.
How was that decision taken? How was that decision taken? Sanjay Jha, Sanjay Jha, please answer. This is the question. How was that decision taken? Was it because of perception of threat from China? It was unilaterally decided, or was it bilaterally decided? Solution of the borders was left by the British to India and all the neighboring countries and the neighboring to decide, sit across the table and decide on your own. So who decided that? And will this break a perception that's been created and maintained for the past 52 years? And that is what all governments are very, very wary of. It's not sensitive information. It is about who created the perception and what has led to what we are facing today.
Yes. Hopefully you'll give me more time to answer the question than the length of your question itself, Anand. But in very simple terms, yes, it's true that political leadership has to take the final call. But please remember that political leadership does not have the acumen or the skill to unilaterally decide what is going to happen at the border. It all depends upon the kind of intelligence that you get. You have defense secretaries, you have members in the high command, you have the chiefs of army staff. These are very critical border issues. These are not political issues.
Who takes the final decision?
So I think the point that we need to consider here, these are collective decisions. I think please remember one thing. Please remember one thing, that the buck will universally always stop at the top. But the point that you need to understand today, since you started your discussion on the classification of the documents, I want to first tell you that I have read the relevant sections, and today if the defense minister believes that there are certain sections which are not in the public domain, need not be in the public domain because of strategic value that he believes are critical to India's border relationship
why not release the other sections?
You must
why not
respect
declassify
that.
the
I think
other
I respect
sections?
the view of everybody on the panel. I respect the view of everybody on the panel, including Mr. Puri. But I also want to request the panel to kindly respect where the defense minister is coming from. At the appropriate time, maybe this is the call of this government. Maybe when we are back in 2014 June, maybe the defense minister, Mr. Antony, or whoever.
So many maybes, Mr. Jha. Maybe 52 years down the line, perhaps there will be a thought again, and maybe then again you would think about declassifying the report, whichever government is at that point in time. So many maybes. No certainty.
But the question today, Sanjay Jha, has come from the BJP, where we've heard the BJP leaders coming out and saying that why has the Congress government not declassified this report? What is your answer to them?
Well, you answered the question yourself when you said, what if that is really true, then what was Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad doing in the NDA government for so long? He should have done that.
Mr. Puri,
I can tell you this is a standard political ploy. This is an attempt. This is a political ploy to, can you imagine, politicize an issue of national security, and the very fact that Mr. Prasad, the very fact that Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad brings in Sardar Patel in the discussion tells you how pedestrian. Well, let me tell you, you are not coming back in 2014 June, don't worry.
Totally available. Oh, I have no doubt. We might have Mr. Antony again for another 5 years, and to the detriment of the armed forces, the poor armed forces,
you can relax.
We'll have Mr. Antony for another 5 years. But first decide who's fighting the elections. amongst the Congress leaders who's fighting the elections for the Lok Sabha. Then we'll decide who will be the Minister of Defence. Mr. Chidambaram is not fighting.
Mr. Puri, you're veering off the point here.
You know, Mr. Jha, what the BJP via Mr. Hardeep Puri has done is given the people of the country an assurance that parts of the report will be declassified if a BJP-led government does come to power after the 2014 elections. Can you give that assurance on behalf of the Congress?
Absolutely.
Can you give that assurance on behalf of the Congress and the UPA?
The assurance they gave to a lot of people in India in 1992 of trying to make a temple.
Let's talk about now.
No,
I'm asking you, the BJP has made a commitment on air, on national television, on the Newshour, that if it's an NDA-led government that comes to power, they will declassify certain portions of this report. Can the Congress give the people of the country that assurance?
To the lowest common denominator.
Can the Congress give the people of the country that assurance?
Not nationalists.
Can the Congress give the people of the country that assurance?
Well, let me tell you this.
Can the Congress give the people of the country that assurance?
Who's asking me this question? I want to know.
This is Anand Narasimhan asking you the question. Hardeep Puri has made a comment, has made an assurance, has made a commitment
Anand,
on behalf of the BJP.
You want, listen, this is what I
He has made a comment on behalf of the BJP.
As the arrogance
he has made an assurance.
You want me as a spokesperson of the party.
He says he's been authorized by the party.
On a Times Now Newshour program.
He says he's been authorized by the party. He has come with that assurance. He has come prepared to this debate. Have you come prepared to this debate to answer the people and tell them, yes, we will declassify the report, voters back into power?
Please let me tell you, in the BJP, they are.
I'm asking about the Congress, sir.
Please don't take Mr. Puri seriously. End of day, if
no
that
answers,
is, if that
no answers again.
You speak for the Congress.
What it would have This is a banana republic.
No answers again. No answers again. No answers again.
The BJP is talking about.
Please answer the question, Mr. Jha. Yes or no, Mr. Jha?
Come on, we are discussing.
Yes or no, Mr. Jha?
1962.
There can be nothing
yes or no, Mr. Jha?
insecure that the country should feel about.
Yes or no, Mr. Jha?
I'm sorry, Mr. Puri. India should
yes
be scared
or no,
of you.
Mr. Jha?
India should be frightened of a BJP.
Yes or no, Mr. Jha?
Question is to you, not to Mr. Puri.
Well, let me tell you.
Well, there you go. We've put it out. We've asked the question.
No assurances from the Congress spokesperson here tonight.
Not like you. I can't believe that BJP on a national program is giving assurances.
Yes or no, Mr. Jha? On that note, we have to close this debate. We have to close this debate.
Spokesman has asked for the declassification. I cannot.
Yes, Mr. Maroof. Yes, Maroof. Final word. We've got to wind up this debate. We've run out of time quickly. Yes, Maroof.
Anand, just one extract from the report as the parting nail on the coffin. That the report also says that orders given from Delhi, apparently orchestrated by the then Defence Minister, to the commander at the Thagla Ridge to go and capture Dhola Post 1,000 yards away without cognizance of ravines and nalas in between was as absurd as the order for the charge of the Light Brigade. Now, who all were responsible? If the military was responsible, now put the blame on them. If the political leadership was responsible, for heaven's sake, have the grace to take blame now.
Absolutely. But are they not questions that need to be answered? That's what we've asked here tonight. The BJP spokesperson has come and said that the BJP, if it comes to power, will declassify sections of this report. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the first debate tonight on the Newshour.